Welcome back to Sleepless Futurists, where we explore the gentle tomorrows that await humanity among the stars. I'm your guide into these peaceful futures, these worlds of wonder where technology and nature blend in harmony, where humanity's greatest challenges have become its greatest triumphs. Tonight, we're traveling to Mars, but not the Mars of today, with its small research stations and struggle for survival. No, we're visiting Mars in the year 2087, when the red planet has become humanity's second garden, when vertical farms rise like green cathedrals from ancient craters, when children born beneath butterscotch skies take for granted the miracle of fresh tomatoes grown in Martian soil. Over the next 2 hours, you'll live a day in the life of a botanical systems specialist, a vertical farmer tending to the towers that feed a thriving colony. You'll walk among 30 levels of growing chambers, taste vegetables that have never known Earth's sun, and discover a future where the barren becomes bountiful through patient human care. There's no drama here, no danger, no dystopian warnings, just the quiet satisfaction of meaningful work, the gentle rhythms of growth and harvest, and the deep peace that comes from knowing your place in a community that has turned an impossible dream into daily reality. So settle in, let your breathing slow, and prepare to drift into tomorrow. Your journey to the Olympus Agricultural Colony begins now. Opening. The red dust settles slowly outside your habitat window, tiny particles dancing in the butterscotch light of another Martian sunset. You're home now. Home in the Olympus Agricultural Colony, one of 12 vertical farming settlements scattered across the northern plains of Mars. The year is 2087, and this is your life, your gentle, purposeful life, tending to the gardens that feed a new world. Your name doesn't matter as much as your purpose here. You are a botanical systems specialist, though most simply call you a vertical farmer. Your days are measured not in the 24 hours of Earth, but in the 24 hours and 37 minutes of Mars, each sol bringing its own quiet rhythm, its own peaceful cadence of growth and renewal. Take a deep breath now. Feel yourself settling into this life, this existence, so different yet so fundamentally human. The recycled air tastes faintly of mint and basil from the herb terraces 3 levels up, a reminder that even here, 140 million miles from Earth, life finds a way to flourish. Chapter 1: Dawn in the Colony. Your day begins as it always does, with the soft chime of your circadian lighting system gradually brightening to mimic the sunrise you cannot see from your interior quarters. The colony's main habitat rings are built into the side of an ancient impact crater, providing protection from radiation while maximizing structural efficiency. Your room, like all residential spaces, faces inward toward the central growing towers. Through your window, you can see them now, 7 magnificent structures rising from the crater floor, each one a marvel of agricultural engineering. The towers glow softly in the artificial dawn, their transparent growing chambers revealing level after level of thriving plants. Tomatoes climb delicate support structures on level 12, Lettuce varieties cascade in hydroponic waterfalls on level 15. And at the very top, the crown jewel of your colony, the fruit tree conservatory stretches toward the pressurized dome above. You dress slowly, methodically, in your daily uniform. The fabric is woven from processed mycelium and recycled carbon fibers, soft against your skin, yet durable enough to last for years. Everything here is designed for longevity, for sustainability, for the careful balance required to maintain life on a world that doesn't naturally support it. Your morning routine is a meditation in itself. In the small bathroom adjoining your quarters, you brush your teeth with paste derived from Martian minerals and essential oils grown in the colony. The water, precious beyond measure, has been recycled perhaps 10,000 times, each molecule tracked and treasured by the life support systems. You allow yourself exactly 4 minutes, the standard allocation, feeling the warm spray against your skin, remembering briefly what rain felt like on Earth. But the memory doesn't bring sadness, only a quiet appreciation for what you have here. The founders of Mars understood something fundamental about human nature, that we adapt, that we find beauty and meaning wherever we plant ourselves, literally and figuratively. Your morning tea awaits in the kitchen alcove, a blend of Martian-grown chamomile and mint, sweetened with honey from the colony's small but thriving bee habitat. Yes, even bees have made the journey across the void, their presence essential not just for pollination, but for the psychological well-being of the colonists. The sound of their buzzing in the fruit tree conservatory has become one of the most cherished aspects of colony life. As you sip your tea, you review the overnight reports on your personal display. The AI monitoring systems have kept watch while you slept, tracking growth rates, nutrient levels, atmospheric conditions within each growing chamber. Tower 3 shows a slight deviation in humidity, nothing concerning, but worth investigating during your morning rounds. The new strain of wheat in Tower 5 has exceeded growth projections by 12%, a promising development for the expansion plans. You take another sip, feeling the warmth spread through your chest, and think about the day ahead. There will be seedlings to transplant, nutrient solutions to adjust, data to collect and analyze. But more than that, there will be moments of wonder, of connection, of purpose. Each plant you tend is a small victory against the harshness of Mars. Each harvest a celebration of human ingenuity and determination. The colony is beginning to awake around you. Through the thin walls, you can hear your neighbors starting their own morning routines. The Nakamura family next door, their twin daughters' laughter carrying through the ventilation systems. Old Henrik across the hall, his ancient coffee grinder whirring to life, one of the few personal items he brought from Earth, still functional after all these years. You finish your tea and rinse the cup carefully, adding it to the sanitization queue. Every action here is conscious, deliberate, part of the greater symphony of conservation and renewal that keeps the colony alive. There's something deeply satisfying in this mindfulness, this constant awareness of your place in the closed-loop system. Before leaving your quarters, you pause at your small personal garden, a luxury afforded to botanical specialists.
In the grow box beneath your window, cherry tomatoes climb a miniature trellis, their red fruit a splash of color in your otherwise neutral-toned room. You check the moisture level, adjust the grow light spectrum slightly, and pluck one perfectly ripe tomato. The flavor explodes on your tongue, sweet and complex. Nothing like the hardy but bland varieties grown for mass consumption in the main towers. This is your reminder of why you do this work, why you chose to leave Earth behind. Here on Mars, every tomato is a miracle, every leaf a testament to human persistence, every harvest a love letter to the future. You secure your quarters and step into the corridor, joining the gentle flow of colonists heading to their morning assignments. The hallways are painted in soft earth tones, psychological compensation for the red world outside. Holographic windows display rotating views of earth landscapes, forests and meadows and beaches.
Chapter 2.
But most colonists
The vertical
rarely look
gardens.
at them anymore. Mars
The
is
entry
home
portal
now,
to Tower
and there's
3
beauty enough here
hisses
for
open,
those who know how to
and you
see
step
it.
into a world
The transit
of
pod
green.
arrives silently.
The transition
Its
never
magnetic
fails
levitation
to take your breath
system
away.
is one of the
From
many
the
technologies
utilitarian
that make colony
corridors of the
life
habitat
possible.
ring to this
You step
soaring
inside with a
cathedral
dozen
of
other
growth
agricultural
and life.
workers, nodding quiet
The tower
greetings,
stretches
sharing
above
the
you.
comfortable
30
silence of
levels
people
of
who
growing
understand
chambers,
each other's purpose.
spiraling upward.
The pod
Each
accelerates
one
smoothly,
a perfectly controlled
carrying you through the
ecosystem
pressurized
designed
tunnel
for maximum
toward Tower 3
efficiency
and the
and
beginning
beauty.
of another soul's
The
work.
morning shift is just beginning, and you join your team at the central elevator platform. There's Yuki, the aquaponics specialist, whose gentle touch with the fish populations has earned her the affectionate nickname Fish Whisperer. Beside her stands Marcus, soil composition expert and your frequent chess partner, his eyes already scanning the readouts on his tablet. Elena arrives last, as always, her expertise in genetic optimization matched only by her inability to wake before the third alarm. "Good morning, farmers," you say, the traditional greeting of your profession here on Mars. They respond in kind, and together you enter the elevator that will carry you up through the heart of the tower. Through the transparent walls, you watch the levels pass by, each one a marvel of agricultural innovation. Level 1 through 3 house the root vegetable chambers, potatoes and carrots and radishes growing in precisely formulated Martian regolith mixed with organic compounds. The reddish soil, so hostile in its natural state, has been transformed through years of careful amendment into a growing medium that rivals Earth's finest farmland. You can see the automated harvesters at work, their gentle mechanical arms lifting mature vegetables from the soil with more care than many human hands could manage. Levels 4 through 7 are dedicated to leafy greens, vast hydroponic arrays where lettuce and spinach and kale grow in nutrient-rich water solutions. The plants float on recycled polymer rafts, their roots trailing like underwater forests in the clear channels below. LED panels bathe each level in precisely calibrated light spectrums, blues and reds and far reds in combinations that would seem alien to Earth farmers, but produce remarkable results here. "Stop at 9, please," Yuki says, and the elevator slows. Level 9 is one of the aquaponics floors, where fish and plants exist in perfect symbiosis. She exits with a wave, already focused on the task of checking the tilapia populations that provide both protein for the colony and nutrients for the plants above. The sound of flowing water follows her, a constant gentle backdrop to life in the towers.
The elevator continues upward, past the grain levels where experimental wheat and quinoa varieties, adapted for Martian conditions, wave in the artificial breeze. Past the legume chambers where nitrogen-fixing bacteria work their ancient magic in the root systems of beans and peas. Past the vine crops, cucumbers and squash trained on vertical supports, their broad leaves creating a jungle of green in the confined spaces. You exit at level 18, your primary responsibility, the tomato terraces. The doors open to reveal row upon row of tomato plants in various stages of growth, from tiny seedlings just emerged from the propagation chambers to mature plants heavy with fruit. The air here is warm and humid, thick with the unmistakable scent of tomato leaves, that green, earthy smell that instantly transports you to summer gardens of earth. But this is better than earth in many ways. Here, there are no pests, no diseases, no weather extremes to damage the crop. Every variable is controlled, monitored, optimized. The plants grow in coconut coir, imported on the early supply ships, a renewable resource that will last for decades with proper management. The nutrient solution flowing through the irrigation lines is precisely calibrated, delivering exactly what each plant needs at each stage of growth. You begin your morning rounds, moving slowly down the first row, your practiced eye scanning for any signs of stress or imbalance. Your hands move among the leaves, checking for proper pruning, training new growth onto support strings, removing any leaves that might shade the developing fruit. It's meditative work, repetitive, yet requiring constant attention, each plant an individual with its own needs and characteristics. "Good morning, beauties," you murmur to the plants, a habit you picked up from your mentor in the early days of the colony. She always insisted that plants responded to human interaction, to the carbon dioxide of our breath and the vibrations of our voices. Whether scientifically proven or not, the plants under your care seem to thrive with the attention. You pause at specimen T1847B, a new cultivar developed by Elena's team. The fruit is slightly larger than standard, with a deeper red color that promises enhanced antioxidant content. You measure its circumference, photograph it from multiple angles, and take a small tissue sample for genetic analysis. Every new variety is precious, a potential step toward complete agricultural self-sufficiency for Mars. The morning progresses in peaceful rhythm. You adjust irrigation flows here, tweak nutrient concentrations there, always watching, always learning. The AI systems could manage much of this automatically, but the human touch remains essential. You notice things the sensors miss, subtle changes in leaf color that indicate iron deficiency, the particular way a plant holds its leaves that suggests water stress, the indefinable vitality that separates a plant that's thriving from one that's merely surviving. Marcus joins you on level 18 around mid-morning, taking a break from his soil analysis work below. "The new regolith blend is performing even better than projected," he says, his voice carrying the quiet excitement of a true agricultural scientist. "The mycorrhizal networks are establishing faster than we've ever seen. I think we might be able to reduce fertilizer inputs by another 15% next cycle." You share his enthusiasm. Every improvement, every optimization brings the colony closer to true sustainability. The early years were hard, dependent on supply ships from Earth, every failed crop a potential crisis. But now, 60 years after the first landing, Mars is beginning to bloom. Together, you work in companionable silence. The only sounds the gentle hum of the ventilation systems and the occasional drip of irrigation water. Outside the tower's transparent walls, the Martian landscape stretches endlessly. Rust-colored hills and ancient impact craters beneath a butterscotch sky. But inside, life grows abundant, a testament to human ingenuity and the irrepressible urge to cultivate, to nurture, to create abundance from barrenness.
Chapter 3. The Rhythms of Mars. The Martian soul reaches its midpoint, and the colony settles into the quiet productivity of afternoon. You've completed your morning rounds on the tomato terraces and now descend to level 12, where the colony's most ambitious project awaits, the Heritage Seed Archive. This climate-controlled chamber houses the genetic legacy of Earth's agricultural history. Thousands of varieties preserved in cryogenic storage, waiting for the day when Mars's agricultural infrastructure can support their cultivation. You key in your access code, and the heavy doors cycle open, revealing a room that feels more like a temple than a storage facility. The walls are lined with preservation units, each one containing hundreds of small vials, seeds sleeping in liquid nitrogen dreams. The catalog is extensive. Heirloom tomatoes from Italy, ancient grains from the Fertile Crescent, heritage apples from Kazakhstan, indigenous corn varieties from the Americas. Each seed contains not just genetic material, but cultural memory, the accumulated wisdom of 10,000 years of human agriculture. You're here to select candidates for the next expansion phase. The Colony Council has approved the construction of Tower 8, dedicated entirely to heritage varieties. It's a luxury Mars can finally afford, moving beyond mere survival to embrace diversity, flavor, cultural preservation. You pull up the holographic interface and begin scrolling through possibilities. Cherokee purple tomatoes with their complex, smoky flavor. Glass gem corn, whose kernels shine like jewels. Moon and Stars watermelon, whose dark green skin is dotted with yellow spots like a night sky. Each variety has been tested in the lab, their genetic sequences analyzed for Mars compatibility, but growing them at scale will be the true test. As you work, cataloging and preparing samples for propagation, your mind drifts to the larger implications of this work. Every seed that successfully grows on Mars is a small victory against extinction, a hedge against Earth's increasingly unstable climate. The irony isn't lost on you that Mars, the dead planet, has become a repository for Earth's living heritage. Your communication badge chimes softly. It's Dr. Sarah Chen, the colony's chief botanist and your direct supervisor. When you have a moment, could you join me in the Fruit Tree Conservatory? We have visitors. Visitors are still rare enough to be noteworthy. You secure the seed archive and make your way to the express elevator,
rising quickly through the tower's core to level 30, the crown jewel of the agricultural complex. The conservatory doors open to reveal a wonderland. Here, beneath the specialized transparent aluminum dome, grow the colony's fruit trees, a living reminder of Earth's orchards. Apple trees spread their branches toward the filtered sunlight, their leaves rustling in the manufactured breeze. Peach trees, heavy with fuzzy fruit, stand beside flowering cherries. Dwarf citrus trees fill the air with the scent of orange blossoms. The trees grow in specially designed containers, filled with a deep layer of amended Martian soil, their roots extending far below into nutrient-rich substrates. It took 20 years of soil conditioning to create an environment where trees could thrive. But the psychological benefits to the colonists have proven invaluable. This is where people come to remember, to reconnect, to feel something beyond the utilitarian efficiency of colonial life. Dr. Chen stands near the central fountain, a luxury that would have been unthinkable in the early years, but now serves as a symbol of the colony's success. Water cascades over Martian rocks, creating a soothing soundtrack to the conservatory's peace. Beside her stand 3 figures in the crisp uniforms of the Mars Transit Authority. "Ah, perfect timing," Dr. Chen says as you approach. "I'd like you to meet Captain Harrison and her crew from the MTS Endeavour. They've just arrived from Earth, and I thought you'd be the perfect person to give them a tour of our agricultural systems." Captain Harrison extends her hand, her grip firm despite the muscle loss from 8 months in space. "We've heard remarkable things about Olympus Colony's food production. My crew and I are particularly interested in your closed-loop systems. We're scouting locations for Colony 13, and food security is our primary concern."
You spend the next hour guiding them through the conservatory, explaining the delicate balance required to grow trees in Martian gravity, the careful pruning techniques that compensate for the different light angles, the specialized pollination protocols using the colony's carefully maintained bee population. The visitors listen intently, taking notes, asking thoughtful questions about water usage and soil amendments and genetic modifications. "The trees aren't just about food production," you explain, leading them to a small grove of cherry trees currently in full bloom. "They're about maintaining our connection to Earth, to the cycles of growth and season that define so much of human culture. When the colonists gather here for the Spring Blossom Festival or the Autumn Harvest celebration, they're participating in traditions that stretch back millennia." One of the crew members, a young botanist named James, reaches out to touch a low-hanging apple, wonder clear on his face. "I haven't seen a real apple tree since I left Earth. The photos don't do justice to this." He gestures at the entire conservatory, the play of light through leaves, the gentle hum of bees moving between blossoms, the sense of life abundant. "That's why we do this," you say simply.
Mars will never be Earth, but it doesn't have to be. We're creating something new here, a fusion of human heritage and Martian possibility. These trees, these gardens, they're proof that life is infinitely adaptable, that beauty can bloom anywhere humans have the will to nurture it. The tour continues through the berry gardens, where strawberries and blueberries grow in terraced planters, their fruit smaller than Earth varieties, but intensely flavored. You show them the grafting experiments, where multiple varieties of stone fruit grow on single rootstocks, maximizing genetic diversity in minimal space. You explain the integrated pest management systems, though pests are rare in the controlled environment, and the careful balance of beneficial insects that maintain ecosystem health. As the afternoon light begins to shift, taking on the particular quality of Martian sunset filtered through the dome, you conclude the tour at the observation deck. From here, the entire agricultural complex spreads out below. 7 towers rising from the crater floor, each one a pillar of green life against the red Martian landscape. "It's extraordinary," Captain Harrison says quietly. "When I left Earth 15 years ago, the Mars colonies were still struggling with basic food production. And now, this! It gives me hope for what Colony 13 might become." You nod, understanding the weight of her words. Each new colony benefits from the hard-won knowledge of those that came before, but each also faces unique challenges: site selection, water availability, solar exposure, soil composition, 1,000 variables that will determine success or failure. "We'll share all our data, of course," Dr. Chen says. "The agricultural protocols, the genetic modifications, the closed-loop system designs. Mars succeeds when we all succeed together." As the visitors depart, returning to their ship to continue their survey mission, you remain on the observation deck. The sun is setting now, that long Martian sunset that seems to last forever. The sky transforms through shades of butterscotch and purple, and the first stars begin to appear, Earth among them, a bright blue point of light that never fails to inspire contemplation. You think about the seeds sleeping in the archive below, the trees blooming around you, the towers full of growing plants, and feel a deep satisfaction. This is your life's work, turning a dead planet into a living one, one seed, one plant, one harvest at a time. Chapter 4. Evening in the Colony. As the Martian dusk deepens outside the transparent walls of the colony, the agricultural towers begin their evening transformation. The harsh grow lights dim to softer spectrums, mimicking the gentle light of Earth's golden hour. This is when the towers become truly beautiful, when the utilitarian gives way to the magical, and the colonists are drawn to the gardens like moths to flame. You descend from the conservatory, taking the scenic route through Tower 4's public access walkways.
These areas were incorporated into the design after the early psychological studies showed that colonists needed more than just efficiency. They needed beauty, connection, spaces that fed the soul as well as the body. The walkways wind through the growing levels, elevated paths that allow visitors to move among the plants without disturbing the carefully calibrated systems. Families are beginning to gather for the evening visiting hours. You see the Petrova children pressing their faces against the observation glass, watching the automated seeders preparing tomorrow's plantings with mechanical precision. Their parents stand behind them, pointing out different vegetables, teaching them the names of plants they've only seen on their dinner plates. "Mr. Zhang," a young voice calls out, and you turn to see Mei Lin rushing toward you, her parents following at a more sedate pace. Mei Lin is 8 Mars years old, which makes her about 15 in Earth years, one of the first generation born on Mars. She's been shadowing you during school holidays, fascinated by the agricultural systems that she's grown up taking for granted. "Are you checking the night protocols?" she asks eagerly. "Can I help?" Her parents nod permission, and you spend the next 20 minutes showing her how to read the environmental monitors, how to spot signs of plant stress even in the dim evening light, how to adjust the automated systems when they need a human touch. She absorbs it all with the intense focus of youth, asking questions that remind you why you fell in love with this work in the first place. "Why do the tomatoes smell stronger in the evening?" she asks. And you explain about stomatal opening and closing, about the rhythms of photosynthesis and respiration that continue even on a planet with different daylight cycles. Her eyes widen with understanding, and you see another botanist in the making. After Mei Lin and her parents continue their evening walk, you make your way to the colony's main dining hall. It's located at the junction between the habitat ring and the agricultural complex, a deliberate placement that reminds everyone of the connection between farm and table. The space is designed to accommodate 500 colonists, though rarely more than half that number gather at any given mealtime. Tonight's menu showcases the recent harvests. There's a rich ratatouille made from Tower 3's vegetables, roasted root vegetables from the lower levels, fresh salads where every leaf was growing just hours ago. The protein course features tank-raised tilapia from the aquaponic systems, seasoned with herbs from the aeroponic gardens. And for dessert, the first stone fruits of the season from the conservatory, sliced thin and served with a drizzle of honey from the colony's beehives. You collect your tray and join Marcus and Elena at a table near the windows. Outside, the Martian night is falling, stars beginning to emerge in the thin atmosphere. The conversation flows easily, shop talk mixed with colony gossip and plans for the upcoming harvest festival. "The new wheat varieties are exceeding all projections," Marcus says between bites of fresh bread, the wheat for which was growing in Tower 5 just days ago. "We might actually achieve full-grain self-sufficiency by next Earth year." Elena nods, but her expression is thoughtful. "Self-sufficiency is one thing, but I've been thinking about surplus. Earth's last agricultural report was troubling. The floods in Southeast Asia, the droughts in North America, they're losing cropland faster than they can adapt." It's a sobering thought. When the Mars colonies were established,
The idea was always that they would eventually become self-sufficient, but no one imagined they might one day need to support Earth, to become the backup for a planet whose climate systems were spiraling toward chaos. The seed archive becomes more critical every day, you add. We're not just preserving varieties for Mars anymore. We might be preserving them for the future of human agriculture. Period. The conversation turns to lighter topics as other colonists join your table. There's discussion of the upcoming concert by the colony orchestra, debates about the best placement for the new memorial garden, plans for the youth agricultural program starting next semester. It's the comfortable chatter of a small community where everyone knows everyone, where individual quirks are tolerated and celebrated because there's nowhere else to go. After dinner, you join the evening shift for the night protocols. The towers never sleep, but they do shift into different modes of operation. The grow lights dim to their nighttime spectrums, heavy on the far red wavelengths that promote flowering and fruiting. The irrigation systems switch to their evening cycles, delivering water when the plants can best absorb it without the stress of photosynthesis. You walk the quiet rows of Tower 3, making the small adjustments that ensure everything will run smoothly through the night. Here, a drooping leaf that suggests a clogged irrigation emitter. There, a fruit cluster that needs additional support before the weight causes stem damage. The work is peaceful, meditative, performed in the soft glow of the safety lights while Mars wheels through its ancient rotations outside. In the aquaponics levels, the fish sleep near the bottom of their tanks. Only the gentle bubble of aerators disturb the surface. The plants above them continue their quiet alchemy, turning fish waste into nutrients, nutrients into growth, growth into the food that sustains human life on this distant world. You pause at one of the observation windows, looking out at the Martian landscape bathed in starlight. The two small moons race across the sky, Phobos completing another of its rapid orbits. In the distance, you can see the lights of the mining outpost at Crater Station, and beyond that, the faint glow on the horizon that marks the location of Colony 2, your nearest neighbors at 300 kilometers away. It's a vast, empty world out there, beautiful in its desolation, but utterly hostile to terrestrial life. And yet here, in these towers, in these gardens, life thrives. Not just survives, but thrives. The thought fills you with a quiet pride, a sense of purpose that makes all the challenges worthwhile. The evening shift winds down, and you prepare to return to your quarters. But first, one more stop. You take the elevator to level 22, where the experimental orchid collection grows in a special climate-controlled chamber. These aren't food crops. They serve no utilitarian purpose. They're here simply because they're beautiful, because humans need beauty as much as they need calories. The orchids bloom in impossible colors, their petals catching the dim light like silk. Some are earth varieties, carefully transported as seedlings on the early colony ships. Others are new hybrids, created here on Mars, flowers that have never bloomed beneath an Earth sky. You spend a few minutes among them, breathing in their subtle fragrances, marveling at their intricate forms. This, too, is part of your work, this cultivation of beauty for its own sake. It reminds you that you're not just farmers here, not just technicians keeping the life support systems running. You're gardeners in the truest sense.
Chapter 5. The Deep Night. The colony sleeps, but the gardens grow on. In your quarters, you lie in bed listening to the gentle hum of the life support systems, that constant whisper of machinery that means survival on Mars. But tonight, sleep eludes you. It happens sometimes, when the vastness of what you're all attempting here becomes suddenly tangible, overwhelming in its audacity. You rise and dress quietly, making your way through the dimmed corridors toward the towers. The night shift is minimal, just a skeleton crew to monitor the automated systems and respond to any emergencies. You nod to Rashid at the security checkpoint, and he waves you through with a knowing smile. He's seen many colonists drawn to the gardens in the deep night, seeking something that daylight hours can't provide. Tower 7 is your destination, the newest of the agricultural structures and home to the most experimental growing systems. Here, in the depths of the Martian night, you can think, plan, dream without the bustle of the day shift. The elevator rises silently, carrying you up through levels of sleeping plants, their leaves folded in their circadian rhythms, their growth temporarily paused but never stopped. Level 25 houses the fog farming experiment, an attempt to maximize water efficiency even beyond the already impressive recycling systems. You enter the chamber to find yourself surrounded by a gentle mist, water vapor so fine it seems to hang motionless in the air. The plants here, specially selected for their ability to absorb moisture through their leaves, ghost-like in the dim safety lighting. You move carefully along the walkways, checking the condensation collectors, adjusting the ultrasonic foggers that create this ethereal environment. The technology is ancient by Earth standards, but its application here is revolutionary. Every drop of water captured and reused is a small victory against Mars's desiccating environment. As you work, your mind wanders to Earth, to the family you left behind. Your sister still sends video messages on the quarterly data packets, her children growing taller in each transmission. Strangers who share your genetic code, but not your world. They think of you as the brave explorer, the pioneer aunt who lives among the stars. They don't understand the quiet daily courage required, not for exploration, but for persistence, for choosing to stay when the romance of Mars gives way to its grinding reality. But then you think of Mei Lin, born here, knowing no other home. To her, Earth is the strange planet, the place of overwhelming blue skies and chaotic weather, where plants grow wild without human guidance. Her generation will be the first true Martians, and what you're building here is their birthright, their normal, their home. A soft chime draws your attention to the environmental controls. The humidity in Section C has dropped below optimal levels, and you make the small adjustment needed to restore balance. It's such a minor thing, a few percentage points of atmospheric moisture, but in the knife-edge balance of closed-system agriculture, small things matter enormously. You continue upward, drawn by an impulse you don't fully understand until you reach level 28, the Membrane Agriculture Lab. Here, Dr. Yuki Tanaka's team is developing what might be the future of farming not just on Mars, but throughout the solar system. Plants grow not in soil or water, but in thin polymer membranes that deliver nutrients directly to their roots while maximizing oxygen exposure. The experimental plots glow softly under specialized LED arrays. Each membrane is precisely engineered, its porosity calculated to match the specific needs of the plant it supports.
Strawberries spread across vertical surfaces, their roots visible through the translucent material like delicate artwork. Lettuce grows in spirals, following the curves of membrane tubes that make maximum use of three-dimensional space. You're not supposed to be here without authorization, but the night shift protocols are more flexible, understanding that sometimes the human need to explore, to wonder, supersedes rigid scheduling. You sit on one of the observation benches, surrounded by this garden of the future, and let your thoughts drift. What will Mars look like in 100 years? 1,000? Will these towers still stand, monuments to humanity's first tentative steps toward becoming a multi-planetary species? Or will they be museum pieces, quaint reminders of a time when growing food was still a challenge rather than a given? Will forests cover the Martian hills, genetically engineered to thrive in the thin atmosphere? Will oceans, somehow, impossibly, fill the ancient basins, reflecting the stars that once shone on dead rock? A movement catches your eye, and you realize you're not alone. Dr. Yuki Tanaka herself emerges from behind a bank of experimental plots, her silver hair catching the grow lights like a halo. She shows no surprise at finding you here, simply nods and continues her work, taking readings from sensors embedded in the membranes. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asks after a while, her voice soft in the humid air. "Sometimes the magnitude of it all just hits me," you admit. "What we're doing here, what it means." She smiles, an expression that transforms her usually serious face. "I've been on Mars for 32 years, and it still hits me too. Usually at times like this, when the colony sleeps, and the plants grow, and the stars wheel overhead, same as they have for billions of years. We're such small creatures, attempting such large things. Do you ever regret it, coming here?" She considers the question, her hands still working among the plants with unconscious grace. "I regret things I miss. My grandmother's garden in Kyoto, the sound of rain on temple roofs, the taste of fresh sushi." She pauses, touching a strawberry blossom with infinite gentleness. "But regret coming? No, because this," she gestures at the growing chambers around them, "is humanity at its best. Not conquering, but cultivating. Not destroying, but creating. We're not just growing plants here, we're growing hope." You sit together in comfortable silence, two gardeners in the Martian night, tending to possibilities that stretch far beyond the present moment. Eventually, Dr. Yuki Tanaka finishes her observations and bids you good night, leaving you alone again with the experimental gardens and your thoughts. The hours pass unnoticed as you wander through the levels, each one revealing new wonders in the nocturnal light. The mushroom cultivation chambers on level 15, where dozens of varieties grow on recycled agricultural waste, their pale forms like alien sculptures in the darkness. The tissue culture lab on level 20, where thousands of plantlets wait in sterile containers, clones of the best performers, genetic insurance against crop failure. As the Martian night begins its slow turn toward dawn, you find yourself back in the main tomato terraces. Your plants sleep peacefully, their leaves drooped in their nighttime posture, their fruit developing in microscopic increments that will, by morning, amount to measurable growth. You perform the unnecessary but comforting ritual of checking each row, adjusting a support here, removing a dead leaf there, whispering encouragement to plants that need no encouragement, but perhaps benefit from the carbon dioxide of your breath. This is your meditation, your prayer, your contribution to the great work of making Mars bloom. Each plant is a small rebellion against entropy, against the universe's tendency to dissolution and decay. Each harvest is proof that life, given the chance, will find a way to flourish even in the most unlikely places. The first hints of artificial dawn begin to lighten the grow chambers, and you realize you've spent the entire night among the plants. But you feel refreshed rather than tired, renewed by this communion with growth and possibility. Soon the day shift will arrive, the towers will bustle with activity, the serious work of feeding a colony will resume.
But for now, in these last moments of solitude, you stand among your gardens and feel the deep satisfaction of purpose fulfilled. You are a farmer on Mars, a tender of impossible gardens, a shepherd of Earth's legacy on a world that never knew the color green until humans brought it here. And tomorrow, and the day after, and all the days to come, you'll continue this work. One plant at a time, one harvest at a time, until the red planet blooms with the dreams you've planted here.
Chapter 6: Community and Connection. The morning of Sol 2487 dawns clear and cold, as every morning does on Mars. But there's an energy in the colony that transcends the routine. Today is Harvest Festival, the quarterly celebration that brings together all 12 agricultural colonies via holographic connection. It's a tradition born of necessity, isolated communities finding ways to maintain cultural cohesion, but it's evolved into something much more meaningful. You rise early, joining the preparation committee in Tower 4's main event space. The transformation is already underway. Automated systems reconfiguring the utilitarian growing floors into something magical. Holographic projectors create illusions of Earth harvest scenes, golden wheat fields swaying in impossible breezes, apple orchards heavy with fruit, vineyards stretching to horizons Mars doesn't possess. The connection to Colony 7 is stable, announces James from the communications team. Colony 3 is reporting minor interference from the dust storm, but they should be able to maintain visual. You help arrange the display tables, each one showcasing the best of Olympus Colony's recent harvests. The pride of place goes to Elena's new tomato variety, officially designated OC2087A, but affectionately known as Mars Sunset for its deep orange color. Beside it, Marcus's soil-grown potatoes, each one a small miracle of biological adaptation. The demonstration gardens, the preserved foods, the seed collections, all testaments to how far you've come from the emergency rations of the early years. Children run between the preparations, their excitement infectious. They've been practicing songs about growing things, about seasons Mars doesn't have but human culture demands, about the connection between Earth and Earth that defines colonial life. Little Aiden Chen clutches a basket of cherry tomatoes he helped grow in the youth program, his face beaming with pride. 30 minutes to connection, announces James, and the pace of preparation quickens. You excuse yourself to change into your festival clothes, one of the few times colonists wear anything other than utilitarian workwear. The fabric is still practical, still Martian-made from processed fibers, but dyed in colors that echo Earth's autumn. Deep reds and golds and purples that stand out against the colony's usual neutral palette. When you return, the space has completed its transformation. Hundreds of colonists fill the terraced seating areas, facing the massive holographic projection wall. The stage is set with the harvest displays, and the colony orchestra, all 12 members tune their instruments. Music is rare and precious on Mars. Every instrument either carried at enormous cost from Earth or painstakingly manufactured in the colony's workshops. Mayor Patricia Wong takes the stage, her presence commanding despite her small stature. She's been with the colony since year 3, watching it grow from desperate survival to thriving community. Her opening words are traditional, thanking the agricultural teams, acknowledging the challenges overcome, remembering those who didn't live to see Mars bloom. But today, she says, her voice carrying clearly through the acoustics of the repurposed space, we celebrate not just survival, but abundance, not just persistence, but joy. Let the 2087 Harvest Festival begin. The holographic wall shimmers to life, revealing similar scenes in colonies across Mars. You see friends who transferred years ago, their faces older but still familiar. Colony 2 showcases their famous grape harvest, the vines that took 15 years to establish now producing wine that would make French vintners weep with envy. Colony 5, in the southern highlands, displays gourds and squashes adapted to their higher radiation environment. Each colony takes turns presenting their achievements. Colony 9's children perform a hydroponic ballet, their movements mimicking the flow of nutrient solutions through growing systems. Colony 11 reveals their breakthrough in mushroom cultivation, yields that exceed Earth norms by 30%. The friendly competition drives innovation, each colony pushing to contribute something unique to the collective Martian agricultural knowledge. When Olympus Colony's turn arrives, you join the presentation team on stage. Elena explains the genetic modifications that created Mars Sunset, the enhanced nutrients, the improved yield, the flavor that colonists describe as tasting like sunshine. Marcus demonstrates the soil improvement techniques, holding up handfuls of rich, dark growing medium that bears no resemblance to the sterile regolith outside. But the real star is Mei Lin, chosen to represent the youth program. She stands before hundreds of colonists, both present and holographic, and speaks with the confidence of someone who's never known a world where humans couldn't make deserts bloom. We planted these seeds 22 sols ago, she says, holding up a tomato plant heavy with green fruit. Every day we measured them. We adjusted their water. We made sure they had enough light. And look, she turns the plant, showing the first blush of red on one of the tomatoes. Tomorrow or the next day, we'll harvest them, and next season we'll plant their seeds. And those plants will be true Martians, just like us. The applause is thunderous, both in the physical space and transmitted from the other colonies. You feel tears prick your eyes, remembering your own first successful harvest, the wonder of creating food from Martian soil. But for Mei Lin and her generation, this is simply how the world works. The extraordinary has become ordinary, which is perhaps the greatest success of all. The festival continues with the feast, each dish celebrating the colony's agricultural achievements. The menu is impossible by early colonial standards: fresh salads, roasted vegetables, fruit compotes, bread made from Martian-grown wheat. The protein course features not just fish from the aquaponic systems, but lab-grown meat, the cellular agriculture labs finally producing at scale. You sit with your tower team, sharing stories and laughter over the meal. Yuki recounts the Great Tilapia escape of '85 when a system malfunction released hundreds of fish into the irrigation systems, leading to confused colonists finding fish in their shower drains for weeks. Marcus shares his first attempt at growing potatoes when he forgot to account for Martian atmospheric pressure and created what he calls potato foam. Between courses, there are performances and presentations. The colony choir sings songs adapted for Martian life, Auld Red Hills of Home and Seasons of Sol drawing both laughter and tears. A group of engineers presents their plans for the next agricultural expansion, Tower 10 designed specifically for tree crops, an orchard under glass that will dwarf even the current conservatory. Dr. Chen takes the stage for the technical presentation, sharing data that make the agricultural teams sit up with interest. Water reclamation efficiency has reached 99.7%. Calorie production per cubic meter has increased by 23% over last year. And most remarkably, our genetic diversity index, the measure of how many distinct crop varieties we're successfully cultivating, has exceeded Earth norms for comparable growing spaces. The implications sink in slowly. Mars isn't just sustaining human life, it's becoming a repository of agricultural biodiversity. As Earth's climate becomes increasingly unstable, as traditional growing regions fail, Mars stands ready not as a backup, but as a partner in preserving the 10,000-year legacy of human agriculture. The formal program concludes with the seed ceremony. Representatives from each colony hold up containers of seeds, their contributions to the collective Martian seed bank. These will be distributed among all colonies, ensuring that no single crop failure, no local disaster, can eliminate varieties that might be crucial for the future. You join the procession, carrying Olympus Colony's contribution, seeds from Mars Sunset and 17 other varieties developed here. The containers are ceremonially placed in the transport pod that will carry them to the central repository in Colony 1, deep beneath Mariner Valley, protected by kilometers of rock from radiation and disaster. As the festival winds down, you find yourself on the observation deck with a group of old-timers, the ones who remember the hungry years, the failed harvests, the times when one sick plant could mean the difference between adequate nutrition and slow starvation. Old Henrik raises a glass of Colony 2's wine, the product of vines that everyone said could never grow on Mars. "To the gardeners," he toasts, "to the dreamers who brought green to the red planet, to the children who will never know hunger, to Mars, our home, our garden, our future."
You drink the wine, tart and complex on your tongue, and think about the seeds traveling through the Martian night to their deep vault. Each one a possibility, a potential future, a small rebellion against the sterility of space. Tomorrow, you'll return to the daily work, the endless cycle of planting and tending and harvesting. But tonight, surrounded by community, by abundance, by the simple miracle of fresh food on a dead world, you allow yourself to feel the full weight of what you've all accomplished. The stars shine through the observation dome, and among them, Earth hangs like a blue ornament. You wonder if they can see you, if the lights of Mars's agricultural towers register on their instruments. You wonder if they know that their children, scattered across the void, have not just survived but thrived, that in the red soil of Mars, humanity has planted seeds not just of food, but of hope, of persistence, of a future that spans worlds. The festival ends, but the feeling lingers, warm as summer sunshine in your chest. You are a farmer on Mars, part of something larger than yourself, larger than any individual life. You are part of the great growing, the transformation of a planet, one seed at a time. Chapter 7. Toward Tomorrow. 3 weeks after the Harvest Festival, the colony buzzes with new purpose. The quarterly planning meetings have concluded, and the decision is official. Olympus Colony will lead the Mars Terraforming Agricultural Initiative, a project that seemed like fantasy just a decade ago, but now edges toward possibility. You stand in the newly constructed atmospheric processing laboratory, attached to Tower 7 like a technological growth. Here, Dr. Kenji Nakamura's team works on organisms that might one day transform Mars itself. Not the grand schemes of melting polar caps or importing comets, but something more subtle, more biological, more in keeping with the patient work of gardeners. The cyanobacteria are exceeding all projections, Kenji explains, showing you cultures that tint their containers blue-green. These strains can survive exposed Martian conditions for up to 72 hours, not thriving, but surviving. With minimal protection, say a thin layer of water ice, they could begin the slow work of oxygen production. You lean closer, studying these microscopic pioneers. They're descendants of Earth's most ancient photosynthesizers, the organisms that first transformed Earth's atmosphere billions of years ago. Now their modified children might do the same for Mars, given time measured in centuries rather than moments. How long before field trials, you ask? 2 years for safety protocols, another year for site preparation. We're looking at the northern lowlands, where morning fog provides natural moisture. Nothing dramatic, just small test plots, but it's a beginning. A beginning. The word resonates as you continue your rounds through the colony. Everything here is a beginning, from the first successful tomato harvest to these dreams of planetary transformation. You think of the generations to come, the children who will inherit not just these towers, but perhaps a Mars where simple organisms grow wild in sheltered valleys, where the atmosphere thickens degree by degree, where the work of human hands and time creates possibilities today's colonists can barely imagine. In Tower 3, you find your own beginning waiting. The heritage varieties from the seed archive have completed their trial period, and it's time for full production. You supervise the planting of Cherokee purple tomatoes. Their seeds descended from varieties that once grew in Earth's Appalachian Mountains. The seedlings seem fragile, almost impossibly delicate, but you know better. Life is tenacious, adaptable, eager to fill whatever niche it finds. "Hand me that tray," Elena says, working beside you. She's been promoted to Deputy Director of Agricultural Operations, but she still insists on getting her hands dirty with planting. "I want these positioned where the morning shift will see them first thing. Nothing motivates like watching heirlooms take root." Together, you work in companionable rhythm, the same partnership that sustained you through years of challenges. She tells you about her daughter, born last year, one of the first third-generation Martians. "I want her to taste these tomatoes, to know that flavor complexity exists, that food can be more than just nutrition, that humans carried beauty across the void because we couldn't bear to leave it behind." The planting complete, you move to the processing levels where the preservation teams work their own form of magic. Here, the harvest becomes winter food, though Mars knows no true seasons.
Tomatoes transform into sauce, paste, or dried chips that will add flavor to meals months from now. Nothing is wasted. Even the plant material becomes feedstock for the mushroom cultivators or the composting systems that create new soil. You pause at the dehydration units, watching paper-thin tomato slices slowly give up their moisture. Maria, the preservation specialist, offers you a sample. The flavor is concentrated, intense, like summer distilled into a crispy whisper. "We're sending these to Colony 6, she explains. Part of the inter-colony trade network. They'll send us their preserved citrus in return." The trade network is another small miracle. Colonies exchanging not just food, but knowledge, genetic material, cultural practices. What starts as simple bartering becomes something richer. A web of connection that makes Mars feel less like scattered outposts and more like a civilization. Your communication badge chimes with a priority message. It's from Earth, from the Global Agricultural Crisis Committee. You read it twice, hardly believing the words. Earth is requesting seeds, not as curiosity, not as backup, but as active genetic material for their own failing crops. The varieties you've developed for Mars, selected for efficiency and resilience, might help stabilize food production on humanity's birth world. You share the news with your team, watching as the implications sink in. Mars, the dead world, the backup plan, has become a lifeline for Earth. The child teaching the parent, the garden in the desert offering sustenance to the garden in paradise. It's a reversal that would have seemed impossible to the first colonists, shivering in their habitats, rationing every calorie. The day continues with its familiar rhythms, but everything feels charged with new meaning. In the Youth Education Center, you guest teach a class on seed selection. The children listen with rapt attention as you explain how to choose the best specimens, how to read the subtle signs of vigor and health, and how each saved seed carries the accumulated wisdom of every generation that selected before us. "But why save seeds at all?" asks young Carlos, his forehead wrinkled in concentration. I hold up a tomato seed, no bigger than a grain of sand. Because this is more than information. It's a living link to every gardener who came before us. When you plant this seed, you're planting the dreams of someone who looked at Mars and saw not red rock, but green possibility. Computers preserve data. Seeds preserve hope. The class ends with each child receiving a packet of seeds to grow in their family quarters. You watch them leave, clutching their packets like treasure, and remember your own first seeds, brought from Earth at considerable cost, planted with hands that shook not from fear, but from the weight of responsibility. As the sol progresses toward evening, you find yourself in the Memorial Garden, a quiet space on the edge of the agricultural complex where the colonists who didn't live to see Mars bloom are remembered. Their names are etched in Martian stone, but their true monuments are the thriving towers, the abundant harvests, the children who take green for granted. You place a fresh tomato on the memorial bench, a tradition that arose spontaneously in the early years. Food for the dead, who died ensuring the living would never hunger. The tomato will be gone by morning, taken by someone who needs it, which is exactly as it should be. The dead need no tomatoes, But they deserve the remembrance, the acknowledgement that every meal on Mars is a gift from those who sacrifice to make it possible. The evening shift is beginning, and you should return to your quarters. But something draws you back to the towers one more time. You ride the elevator to the very top of Tower 7, to the new observation deck built above the atmospheric laboratory. From here, you can see the entire colony spread below, 7 towers of green light against the darkening Martian sky.
But more than that, you can see the future. In the sealed test chambers below, organisms that might one day breathe life into Martian thin atmosphere. In the seed vaults, the genetic diversity to survive whatever challenges await. In the children learning to tend plants, the next generation of gardeners who will push the boundaries even further. You think about Earth's request for seeds, about the heritage varieties taking root in Tower 3, about Mei Lin and her confident declaration that she and her plants are true Martians. You think about Dr. Tanaka's words about growing hope, about the patient work of transformation, about humanity's deep need to cultivate beauty even in the harshest places. A movement below catches your eye. In the public viewing area of Tower 4, families are gathering for the evening visit. You watch parents lift children to see the growing plants, pointing out vegetables they'll eat tomorrow, explaining the cycles of growth and harvest that define human existence, whether on Earth or Mars. The children press their faces to the glass, wonder in their eyes, seeing magic in what has become mundane to their elders. This is your legacy, not just the tons of food produced or the varieties preserved, but this normalization of the impossible. Every child who grows up taking Martian tomatoes for granted is proof that humans can adapt to anything, can make home anywhere, can bring life to the deadest ground if given time and tools and hope. The stars emerge in the Martian sky, brilliant in the thin atmosphere. Earth shines among them, no longer the only green world orbiting Sol. You stand in your tower of plenty, surrounded by the quiet breathing of 10,000 plants, and feel the deep satisfaction of work well done and work yet to do. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, equipment failures, crop diseases, the endless balance of resources in a closed system. But it will also bring new growth, new discoveries, new possibilities. Seeds will germinate, plants will reach toward the light, harvests will feed the colony, and slowly, patiently, inevitably, Mars will bloom. You are a gardener on Mars, keeper of green spaces in a red world, tender of hope in the vast garden of space. And as you finally make your way back to your quarters, footsteps echoing in the quiet corridors, you carry with you the certainty that this is just the beginning. The towers are rising, the seeds are spreading, The children are learning. And somewhere in the red soil of Mars, carefully tended by human hands, the future is taking root.
Your eyes grow heavy now, here in your Martian home, surrounded by the quiet sounds of a living colony. The gentle hum of the life support systems becomes a lullaby. The whisper of growing things, a peaceful counterpoint to your slowing breath. You've lived a day in the life of a Martian gardener, felt the red soil between your fingers, tasted tomatoes grown in alien greenhouses, watched children learn to tend plants on a world that knew no green until humans brought it here. You've seen that the future doesn't have to be sterile corridors and protein pills, but can be abundant with life, rich with possibility, beautiful in its marriage of technology and nature. Rest now. Dream of gardens yet to be planted, of seeds carrying Earth's legacy to distant worlds, of the day when Mars blooms wild with life, adapted to its ancient rhythms. Dream of towers rising from red plains, of children who know no hunger, of the patient work that transforms dead worlds into living ones. You are safe here in your colonial habitat, protected by technology and warmed by community. Part of humanity's greatest garden, stretching from Earth to Mars and beyond. Sleep deeply. Sleep well, knowing that tomorrow the seeds you planted today will have grown a little taller, reached a little further toward the stars. The red planet turns on its axis, carrying you through the Martian night, while in towers of glass and hope, 10,000 plants breathe oxygen into the darkness. Tiny green rebels against the void, proof that life finds a way, that humans make gardens wherever they go, that even the deadest ground can bloom if tended with patience and love. Sweet dreams, Martian gardener. May your sleep be as peaceful as your plants, and may you wake refreshed to tend tomorrow's miracles. And now, as your journey through the gardens of Mars comes to an end, let yourself drift deeper into sleep. You've walked the towers, tended the plants, shared meals with fellow colonists who've made the impossible possible. You've lived a day in a future where humanity has learned to make any world bloom, where patience and care transform barren ground into abundance. The story fades now, but the feeling remains. That deep satisfaction of meaningful work, that connection to growth and life, that certainty that tomorrow will be better than today because human hands make it so. Carry these feelings with you into your dreams. Let them paint your sleep with gentle visions of green towers rising against red skies, of children who've never known hunger, of seeds carrying hope across the cosmos. Thank you for joining me in tomorrow's gardens. May your sleep be deep, your dreams be peaceful, and may you wake refreshed, knowing that somewhere in the possible futures that await us, there are gardens on Mars
and gardeners to tend them, and abundance enough for all. This has been Sleepless Futurist. Until next time, sleep well, dream better, and remember, the future is growing, one seed at a time.